Being the eldest child means that you're groomed to put people above your wants. Now, in some other households, this is extreme. I don't think that my household was like some others, but I was taught that my younger siblings' needs came before my wants. That's fine. In some cases, that's normal sympathy. The trouble comes when you are forced to drag your little siblings along when you really just want space. If they do something wrong, it's your fault for not guiding them. And it's worse as the age gap increases. Being an older sibling for a younger brother or sister when you guys are only a year apart is completely different than when you're 5+ years apart. And in my case, I was the latter. Along with other family and school issues that shall not be named, I grew up to believe that other people's wants and needs came before mine. I believed that only when everyone was happy or content, then that's when I could finally focus on myself. I was very independent, but what ended up happening was I stopped caring for my needs altogether. Being there for everyone became my personality. I was a people pleaser, and in return, I got nothing. In this video, I want to talk about removing empathy as a core part of your life. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, but only at the end so I know I'm doing a good job. Being empathetic is feeling an emotion with someone, while being sympathetic is feeling for someone. But you don't really have to carry that emotion with you while being sympathetic. I would never want to live in a world where there's no empathy. If I was homeless on the side of the road, I would kind of want someone to feel guilty so I can get $1. If I was born in a different time and I was quote unquote the wrong skin color or gender, I would need others to be empathetic so I literally don't get abused or murdered. So I'm not saying that empathy isn't needed. I'm saying you need to be careful where you apply it to. I have this old friend who I put distance between because he continued to chase an ideal version of a specific woman without considering himself first. Did you guys see that Drewski skit where he's acting like a bald guy who wants women to be perfect without ever putting effort into themselves? Well, there are real people like that, like my old friend. Let's call him Vinny. I kept feeling bad for Vinny because he was a good guy, but he had no respect for himself. His hair was always a mess. His teeth were bright yellow. He was overweight, lustful, and dramatic. Now, we may all have a Vinny in our life right now, or worse, we are Vinny. And we try to give them advice on becoming a better person, but they never take it. I've learned that honestly, it's not your place to be empathetic in this situation. Anyone who doesn't take care of themselves doesn't deserve your attention or help. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. Being empathetic in this scenario is forcing the horse to drink. When you're surrounded by people who actively choose the wrong path or who don't ask you how to help them, you have to go from an empathetic mode to a sympathetic one, or nothing at all. You get caught up trying to fix someone's life and you ended up giving less attention to yours. I read this really popular book. Well, I didn't actually read it. I listened to it on audio, but the main point was that you have to let people be who they are. The book is called The Let Them Theory. Being less empathetic doesn't mean you have to be lonely. It doesn't mean you have to cut everyone else off and start from scratch because, to be honest, it's a little extreme. You gotta just understand that you can't change someone. You may be able to be influential, but most people after the age of 12 want full autonomy of their life, or at least believe they want full autonomy. By pulling back your empathy, you stop lying to yourself about this person. A few friends in high school were the girls that liked the bad boy trope, the ones that wanted to quote unquote fix them. Now, I could never understand why someone wants to fix someone because I deal with my own personal issues of thinking that my soulmate needs to be perfect. But in this case, the girl loved the thrill of being disrespected. Like, honestly, I don't even know any other way to put it. This guy cheated on her or was talking to another girl, and she fought that girl instead of seeing him for who he was. In her defense, she said that that guy had problems at home and the girl took advantage of his emotional state. I knew at that moment that I was dealing with a dummy. But we were in high school, so I still was friends with her for a longer time after this. I knew a few guys who wore the Captain Save a Minecraft Garden Tool cape in college. They loved this girl, and even though she was a bop, they made excuses about her not being able to have love in her childhood. You should be sympathetic with people who have struggles at home, but this should not cost you your mental health or self-respect. This is why I say empathy is not helpful, because the actions that people do shouldn't drain your emotional condition. Being an empath can be wonderful, but you gotta have boundaries on who is in your life. If your friend who is constantly seeking new ways to improve themselves goes through a breakup, you need to be empathetic to them. Their belief system isn't messed up, they're just going through something. But a person who's always been in a toxic relationship, toxic friendships, and is only actively seeking short-term pleasures doesn't need your empathy. Now, there probably is going to be a group of people who call you a narcissist for not being empathetic. And honestly, there might be truth to that statement. But what I'm really trying to get at is that you can't help someone if you can't help yourself first. Most people who are watching this aren't in a position to help other people the way they would like to. In my case, most of my time goes to work and school and paying bills. So if I had a grown adult that needed my emotional help, it would be detrimental to my future. I could go into a deep depression believing that I should fix this person, only to find out that they don't even care about my feelings or beliefs in the first place. They were just using me to get from point A to point B. But I'm the narc. Currently, I couldn't really give more than $100 to someone because of my financial situation. I wouldn't be able to spend more than a day a week with someone not focused on improving their life because I'm not in a strong position in my life where their energy, their negative energy, wouldn't affect me. There's only so much I can do. In the future, there would be cases where I could offer more help and be a little bit more empathetic, but currently I'm, and maybe even you too, aren't in a situation where that's possible. Nobody wants to be helped or pursued by someone who can be in the same situation that they're in tomorrow. And most of the college friends or work peers that you have are in the same situation. So why help them when you can't even help yourself? People don't want your advice when they're your equal. They want your attention and you to agree with the way they look at life. So keep it short. Don't be a know-it-all. Now, I get that I'm literally talking about myself right now. Who am I to be in a position to help people online when I'm not rich and smart? But the way I'm going about it doesn't cost me my energy. I'm not in a position where I feel forced to help random people online or even empathize with the audience, even though that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I do it for myself though. I like making videos, although I still want to gain an audience. It feels like I'm talking to a younger version of myself each time. It becomes a burden when I'm forced to help someone, not out of purity, out of necessity. Like my sibling example. Personally, I wouldn't mind helping my siblings out every now and again. I'm not that older sibling that hates their younger ones. And maybe, yeah, that's because of the age gap. But being forced to be empathetic to them when I need to focus on myself is a problem. And in your case, you might be in a similar position with a sibling, a parent, a friend, or even worse, your partner. If someone calls you a narc for putting yourself first, then they're probably projecting. The only people who need you are your kids, which most of us don't have. And if you don't have any resources to help, typically money or time, then you'll pay with your mental health. Don't delete the empathetic code in your brain and say F everyone or go into this weird lone wolf period, unless you literally have to. But until you're in a position where you have the resources to help others, keep the resources to yourself so that you can build your life. Empathy isn't helpful if you forget to be empathetic to yourself. If you neglect your mental, physical, and spiritual being for another person, you can create a form of resentment because of them. And then if you're resentful to that person, well, you can't also be empathetic at the same time, right? I mean, I'm low-key asking because I don't know. When the time is right and you have the resources to help, then you should. Short-form empathy that doesn't drain you can be a simple conversation. People have things that go on in their life and they want to talk about it with someone. And asking leading questions to their story can help them work it out. But you shouldn't solve their problems or give unsolicited advice even though you feel like it. Instead, ask questions like, so what do you think you should do? This question or a question like it can help you learn about a person more than you think. Common responses could be like, I don't know. In this case, give them a second to figure it out and compliment whatever choice they pick. This is having sympathy. You don't feel like the problem is yours, and so you have room to leave the task and the result of completing that task to that person. Another response could be negative, like, I'm going to party to escape the pain. Now, they may not say it like that, but I've definitely had people choose the wrong path or what I perceive as a wrong path. What I've actually learned is that partying or short-term pleasure seeking isn't bad. It's when you only do short-term pleasure seeking when your life hits the fan in the long term. But again, don't negate it. Ask, okay, so what are you going to do after you party? Most people know how to solve their problems. They're just running away from them constantly, or they don't have the patience to go through life to get on the other side of things. Having patience can change your life. An example of bad patience can be with partners. You might have a friend or be a person who's very lustful, and you might be avoiding long-term relationships that will heal or balance you by continuously seeking quickies. In this case, I can't be empathetic to someone who is literally sabotaging good things by lack of patience. I can't give you endless advice on how to fix your life. I can't save you from yourself, and it's not my job to do. I can only lead you to water. A couple years ago, and the reason why I started this video, I had this friend named Keith. His girl was super toxic and left him on the side of the road after a party or something. When I picked him up, all he complained about was how toxic she was. And I told him he should leave her if it's costing him his mental health or safety. Guess where he was next week? Her crib. And now she hates me for giving him advice. And he's avoiding our friendship because of this girl. So the following month, when a similar situation happens and he calls me for help, what do? I let Keith experience the consequences of his actions. I'm suddenly busy with my own partner, and I can't come to the rescue. This is a situation where having empathy wouldn't be helpful. I'd be a target of Keith's girl and his resentment. I can't be there every time he cries wolf. So yeah, he can call me a narc for not being a good friend, but I can call him a bad friend for putting me in situations that cost me my gas, my mental health, concern, and time. Because eventually, if you keep saving a person who throws himself in danger, then you make the decision to sacrifice yourself for this person. Too many people have ended up accomplices for crimes, maybe illegally done, or just crimes against your mental health because they're stuck as people pleasers or rescuers. They think to themselves, I need to help this person get a better job, relationship, etc. And then they end up in the middle of someone else's life problems or with that person's karma. You have to learn when to be empathetic. Learn who to be empathetic with and who to give your resources to. Stop neglecting your emotional state in order to help other people achieve goals that you aren't even close to reaching. Empathy isn't helpful when you aren't empathetic to yourself.